What's happening? Y'all know what it is, what it's about. Jay here. Welcome back to another reaction video. Today I'm going to be reacting to 5 first date tips for men. 5 first date tips for men by Miss Courtney Ryan. What do I know about Miss Courtney Ryan? Absolutely nothing other than the fact that I'm about to react to a video by her called 5 first date tips for men. Hopefully these are some good tips because I know that there's a lot of bad dating and relationship advice out there. Whew. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, am I going to react to the whole video? Probably not. I have things to do. But I'll react to a couple of tips, and then what I'll do is I'll link the full video in the description so that way you guys could watch it without my blabbering. Let's get into it.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to have a great first date. So after the last video I posted reacting to Alpha M, I had a lot of outreach from all of you asking me tips just for dating in general, how to talk to women, first date tips, things like that. So I thought, why not combine it into a video? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about 5 tips to have a great first date. So regardless of what the outcome of the date might be, you're not going to leave the date thinking, I could have done this better or I should have done this instead. If you follow these 5 tips, you will have a great first date. So following these 5 tips are going to set you up for success and ensure that you have the best first date possible. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. So number 1 on my list is to dress well. So I'm not saying dress like someone you're not or dress like what you think she would want you to look like, because let's say you have a second date and you bought an outfit for the first date and you don't have any more clothes like that, she's going to catch on to the fact that maybe on the first date you dressed a little bit to impress her and that is not your actual style. So dress like yourself. When I say dress well, I don't mean dress like someone that you're not.
You said it already, but I get what she's saying and I agree 100%. You gotta dress well, okay? Not fancy schmancy. Well, maybe it just depends on where you're going. I mean, me personally, I don't suggest taking a woman to like a fancy restaurant on the first date, spending all that money, because now I did get some good advice from one of my OGs. He says, if you lead with your wallet, she's going to use you as a piggy bank. And there's a lot of you guys that lead with money. Yeah, you got a lot of money, but you don't have no personality, right? You can't carry or hold a conversation. So I get what she's saying, man. You gotta dress well. As a matter of fact, I went shopping the other day. I had to buy some new clothes, man, because I was sick of dressing like a senior in high school, and I'm not a senior in high school. So I went out, I got some clothes that fit me comfortably, and they basically say, hey, this is me. You know what I mean? So that's just what it is, man. So you gotta dress well.
But just dress like the best version of yourself. So this is also going to depend on the type of scenario that you're in for your date. So if you're going for brunch on the weekend and it's very casual, you're going to want to dress in something like jeans and sneakers and a nice shirt, just looking a little bit more casual to fit the setting that you're going to be in. Say you're maybe meeting after work for a drink or dinner, maybe you're a little bit more business casual, something like that. So I'm not going to get super specific into what to wear. I think that's very specific and a little bit too zoned in, and really could be a video in its own. So if you guys would want to see that, let me know in the comments below. So just generally dress for the setting that you're going to be in. You don't want to look like you tried too hard, so definitely don't come wearing a full-fledged suit unless for some reason you are famous and rich and fancy and going to a gala and taking her for the first date, which I really wouldn't recommend in the first place. But
see, even she recommends it. All right, don't be taking her to no fancy schmancy restaurant on the first date. Yo, I could just see some of you guys just walking into Starbucks just wearing a suit. You know what I mean? You ain't even no businessman or what have you. You guys are just, this is the first date. You know, I bet I just, got my suit on. Just walking up into Starbucks, ordering your complicated drinks.
just make sure you're dressing for the occasion, and like I said, dress like the best version of yourself. You should look like you spent a little time getting ready. You don't want to look like you rolled out of bed. So
you don't want to look like this. All right? You don't want to look like me right now. I just rolled out of bed. And I decided that I wanted to get up here on this camera
If I showed up to the first date and the guy shows up and his v-neck is looking like a U-neck and he looks like he was out partying all night and maybe has the worst hangover of his life, it's going to be an initial turnoff. And as much as I hate to say it, a lot of girls are that way. I'm not saying that looks are everything, but first impressions are very important, so you're gonna wanna make a good one. All right, guys, next on my list is to pick the perfect place. So this is going to differ depending on where you live, what season it might be. If you're in California and it's sunny and 70.
I could agree with that. Pick the perfect place. Me personally, I am not a big fan of inviting a woman over to my place on the first date. But that's just me. I know that's how a lot of you guys roll, especially on social media. And y'all talking about, oh yeah, man, just invite her over to your house for Netflix and chill, or Hulu and chill, or Amazon Prime and whatever rhymes with Prime. Yeah, man. I know there's some of you guys out there that think like that. But nah, I actually want to go out and get to know a woman. Go out to a public place where there are witnesses around in case if she tries to do anything to me, and get to know her, right? Y'all don't know who you guys are inviting over to your house. Which I think it's nuts, man. I think it's nuts for some of you guys just be like, oh yeah, just come over to my house. I'm like, you don't know who you're inviting over to your house? Don't you guys want to go meet in a public place where there are witnesses just in case if something bad happens to you? Don't y'all care about your life?
And beautiful all year, you're probably going to have more options than someone like me that lives in Cleveland, where it's cold 7 months of the year and there's not really that much fun stuff to do in the winter time. So,
not to mention y'all's football team over there I'm not even gonna get into y'all's football team.
Keep that in mind as well. So you're gonna wanna pick somewhere where you're going to be able to get to know them to an extent. You don't wanna get to know them too much on the first date. As silly as that might sound, I don't recommend bringing her to your place on the first date. I think going somewhere public where you can be in a public setting but get to know each other a little bit more one-on-one is very important. So like I said about bringing someone to your personal space on the first date, this is just so that you don't show all your cards on the first date. You wanna leave a little room for imagination, a little room for mystery. You don't want to show everything you have to offer on the first date. That is something that maybe will come after a few dates, after you get to know the person. You decide if you really like them or not. But for the first date, you're going to want to pick somewhere public, like I said, where you can get to know each other a little bit better. So another thing I want to point out is that I don't think a very fancy dinner date is a good first date, because if you don't even know if you like this girl or not, why do you want to spend tons of money on her? Also, a fancy dinner date is not a great first date because you kind of lock yourself into this very nice, long, drawn out, formal meal. Say you get 20 minutes into this date and you know that you do not like this girl, you are stuck there in a 4-course meal with a girl that you don't like, and you're gonna have to pay for her. So keep that in mind. That's why I would never.
Unless you want to go Dutch. Isn't that what a lot of you guys are doing right now? You guys are either going Dutch or you're trying to make the woman pay for the meal. Right? Huh? Nah, I see it. I know what you guys been doing, right? The waiter or the waitress, they come, they bring you the check. Oh, is this together or separate? Right? You guys turn to the woman, or you guys are sitting across from the woman. You look at her. Oh, well, are you gonna give me any tonight? Are you gonna suck my sausage tonight? No. Okay, separate, please. That's not funny, but it's true.
I would never recommend a super nice place for a first date. Go somewhere casual, go somewhere fun. You really want to get to know the person a little bit more here. Don't show your cards, don't show that you have tons of money, because you're gonna attract the wrong type of girl that way. So you're gonna wanna be able to have a conversational element on your first date. You're not gonna go somewhere where the talking is limited, like maybe a movie. A movie is seriously the worst place to take someone for a first date if you've never met them before. So if you're friends and you've been friends for a while and maybe you're just starting to have a romantic interest in them and you take them on a date to a movie, that's not the end of the world. But if you meet a girl online and take her to the movies for the very first time you meet her, you're both going to be sitting there in the dark very awkwardly sharing a thing of popcorn, and it's just going to be so awkward and so uncomfortable. And even worse, you're not going to be able to get to know them at all because you're going to be sitting in silence in a movie for 2 hours. So like I said, somewhere public, somewhere fun where you can get to know them a little bit is always very important.
Yeah. Don't take her to a movie. Do not take her to a movie. Okay? I remember when Endgame came out, Avengers Endgame, I made the mistake of taking a woman to go see that movie. She's leaning over. So where are you from? Captain America's on the screen, man. Never.
So this leads me into my next point, which is conversation. So I would argue that conversation is the most important part of a first date. On your first date, you should get to know a little bit more about who this girl is, what she's into. You should definitely be curious and ask her questions, but she should be doing the same for you. So if she is not giving you anything in return and she doesn't seem like she wants to get to know you at all, then maybe that should be a sign to you that maybe she just isn't into you. And that's totally fine. Not every girl you go on a date with is going to be into you, and vice versa. And
hey, that's right. Do you guys think, and you guys can comment below, don't you guys think that conversation is kind of lost today? I mean, we don't conversate no more. We're just twiddling our thumbs or what have you. I go outside every now and then. I go for walks. I pass like my local coffee shops and restaurants, and I see people that are obviously they're on the first date, and they're not even talking to each other. They're just twiddling their thumbs. You know, and I guess that's the only thing that a lot of you guys have in common. You know, it's just twiddling your thumbs. Why don't you guys have a conversation about twiddling your thumbs? Why don't you guys have a conversation about how much y'all love Fruit Ninja, if that's even a thing, or Flappy Bird? Wait, didn't they get rid of that app? But yeah, man, you guys have to talk. You guys have to talk, man. It's just so awkward. It's just so awkward just sitting across from somebody and they're not even talking to you or you're not talking to them. You gotta conversate.
that's totally okay. So say you met this girl online and you've creeped on her Instagram and you know things about her that maybe you shouldn't at this point. I don't know if guys do that, but girls do that. Don't ask her questions that you think she's gonna want to answer or that are going to make her like you more. You're gonna want to be candid in this. You're not gonna want to pre-prepare your questions or seem like a robot. You're going to want to go,
what's your body count? Hey, that's what a lot of you men be asking women nowadays. Well, what's your body count? I've seen the interviews. I've seen y'all on the street interviewing random women, asking them how many men they've been with. Crazy.
with the flow, ask her about different things, notice the things that she's into and the things that she lights up when she talks about, and stick to those things, and maybe see if you can bounce off of those and flow with the conversation and see if the things that she lights up about are things that you guys both have in common. And a very important point about the whole conversation element is don't sit there and talk about yourself the entire time. I personally have been on first dates where all the guy does is talk about himself and doesn't ask me anything. It's really awkward and just very unenjoyable for the other party if the person that you're with is sitting there talking about themselves the whole time and not asking you anything in return. So I'm sure that is just as frustrating for a guy if you're the one that's asking all the questions and she's not giving you anything in return. It's just not really great and it's kind of a turn off. So don't be that guy that sits there and talks about himself the entire date. Show curiosity in her if you're interested. If you're not, well, then you know you don't want to take her on a second date. At the end of your conversation on your first date, you should really evaluate, do I want to get to know this girl more? Do I think we're compatible at all? Is it even worth me going on a second date with her? So these are all going to be things that you're going to want to think about after that first date, which is why it's so important to have a nice conversation and to be in a place where you're able to do that. So my next point, number 4, is knowing when to stop the date or knowing when to continue. So this is another reason why it's so...
Who knows, but I'm going to end the reaction video right here. If you guys want to watch the rest of that video, all you guys got to do is just hit the link in the description. And the link to her video is just right there. You guys can go and watch it. But I'm finished. Okay. But so far, she's made some pretty valid points. Okay. Dress well. Take her to a public place. Conversation, that's got to be on point. So yeah, I'm good. I got to give it to you, Courtney. I mean, this is better than, you know, some of the other advice that I'd be getting or hearing on the internet. But anyways, man, that's just about it. I mean, if you guys have any other tips that you guys can give men, leave them in the comments, man. I'm looking for some first date tips. Just kidding. I already have a girlfriend, and our first date was phenomenal. Okay, we sat there at the restaurant 5 hours, and we just connected on so many levels. So, yeah. That's that. So, I'm happy. I don't know about you guys. But that concludes this reaction video. I will catch you guys in the next one.